Yep, we're going out on Facebook. I'm assuming if we're going out on Facebook, we're going out on YouTube as well.
Yeah.
So we'll be able to call minutes to get on board, then we'll get underway.
Right. I'll just
check.
Open the YouTube.
We'll get 7 on Facebook so far, so it's starting to get there. Afternoon, Stephen. Afternoon, Harry.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, boys.
Good afternoon, Sarah. Hi, Graham. Hi, Sandra. Numbers are quite low.
Yeah.
Good afternoon, Sarah. Hi, Graham. Hi, Sandra. Don't know why that sound come back on there.
It was me when I clicked on YouTube just to check it.
Hi guys, welcome aboard folks. Numbers are climbing nicely, we'll get this underway. Now today we are talking about the better social contract that the Scottish people have with the Scottish government than what the English people have with the Westminster government. Because it's no just up here where we're getting gaslighted. They've done that road, they're being gaslighted and all. So we would like to use this particular programme to highlight the differences in social contract that we have with the Scottish government to what they have with their English government and why they're being gaslighted and why they are standing up and asking for the very same things that we've got. Because although they believe they subsidise us, we'll get into that when we go through it, they don't. We just have a more modern and better tax system. So we'll get into that. Okay. So what we'll do is we're going to look at the top achievements of the Scottish government that's in power at the moment with the Greens when they came to power in 2007, and we'll have a look at how they've improved the social contract for the people in Scotland, whereas in England the social contract has been degraded. Okay. So let's get this underway. All right. So here are some of the top achievements of the Scottish government. Right, David, over to you.
Baby box. Giving every baby born in Scotland the best start in life by providing families with a baby box filled with the essential items needed in the first 6 months of a child's life. My own wife is a health visitor, and she was cock a hoop when that happened because the people in the lower income families couldn't afford to get all the basics in place for a baby, and also the box acts as a cot for the baby as well, which is marvellous. Right? Yes. Sorry, David.
Yeah. No, but listen, the English people need to hear this. It's a policy choice. The Scottish government has decided to look after newborn babies. Right, now we'll get the childcare. All eligible children now benefit from at least 1,140 hours of founded early learning and childcare, saving families around 4,500 per year on childcare costs. Now, as we all know, childcare costs is the second biggest cost that face families when they enter into the workplace and the working environment. They've got to pay for childcare. Now, obviously, we're getting much more childcare per year for free to the Scottish government than what they are doing that road, and it saves the average Scottish family £4,500 per child per year.
Okay.
On you go, David.
Free tuition. Students in England face tuition fees of up to £27,750. Scottish students receive university tuition for free and always will under the SNP.
And the other thing about that is here in Scotland, poorer Scottish students are helped with a bursary, no loan, a bursary of £7,750 a year. It doesn't have to be paid back, and those who are a wee bit better off, who they take out student loans, they get charged a lower interest rate here in Scotland than what they would in England. Right, let's go to period poverty, one that people of England probably suffer from. Well, here in Scotland, we don't have period poverty because the Scottish government, thanks to one of the other political parties in the Parliament, believe it or not, now provide sanitary products to anybody who needs them free of charge. You can still buy them in the shops if I use people in England, but if you can't afford them, you just go along to the local, along to your local pharmacist or into any of the school buildings where they're all free and on the walls for school kids who need them. You just go into one of the public buildings and get yourself some sanitary products. It's a fantastic piece of legislation and it has changed thousands of people's lives. Right, next one, David.
Record high health funding. Our latest health and care portfolio spending exceeds 16 billion, with resource funding by over 60% under the SNP.
There's a wee bit more to that. I mean, we have got 25,000 more nurses in our health system, and we have free elderly care. Down that road, the hike in national insurance to try and sort out social care. We already have it sorted. It's been sorted for years.
So in effect, we are helping to pay for the English.
We are paying for England's crap social contract. That's why national insurance has to go up in Scotland.
Yeah. Okay. Right, Dave, next one.
Free prescriptions. Prescription charges abolished in Scotland. They're now £9.35 per item south of the border. I believe it's going up again to £9.85 down that road. But the thing about the free prescriptions here in Scotland was we actually saved money by giving the medicines away free. Because it meant we saved £2 million on the people who were collecting the prescription charge. And when we look at the exemptions for prescription charges, those on long-term illnesses, those who are unemployed and things like that, well, they weren't filling in that much money anyway. So we actually saved £2 million a year by giving people free prescriptions. Now, they'd save a fortune in England and all just by giving out free prescriptions. But the people down that road aren't paying attention and are allowing themselves to be charged for medicines at the point of need. If you're £9.35 an item and you've only got £93 a week unemployment benefit, then a couple of minor ailments and you can't feed yourself. Right, David.
Right. Free NHS dental care. We've already abolished NHS dental fees for all under 26-year-olds, and we will deliver free dental care for everyone by the end of this Parliament.
Yep.
No, okay, straightforward.
Down that road, they pay a fortune to go and see their dentist up here. The under 26 don't pay a dollar. By the end of this particular Scottish Parliament, they will pay for dental care.
Yeah.
Right, care for all. Now, I've already given this a wee mention, but free personal and nursing care extended to everyone who needs it, regardless of age. And we are now taking steps towards towards a transformative national care service. So we'll talk about the reason that national insurance is going up. The Scots are having to pay increased national insurance to fix the social care system in England. It's a bloody disgrace. The fact that there isn't a social care system down that road and people have to sell their houses when they get old and infirm to pay for it is a bloody outrage. Whereas here in Scotland, we have already taken steps and we are building a national care service to rival our national health service. We're going to take the private sector out of caring for our citizens and do it with bloody selves.
Yeah.
Right,
yeah.
David.
I was talking to a couple of care assistants the other day there, and they are loving the idea they're going to become part of sort of an NHS setup as care assistants. Some of them you speak to are very, very highly educated that take up positions and looking after older people in their houses or whatever. It's bloody marvellous what they do. It really is, because I have an elder relative that is suffering from dementia, and they come in 4 times a day, and they do all sorts, So it's by the time we actually get that into a proper organisation, it'll be wonderful. It'll
also be cheaper than the private sector doing it. It is in that bloody road and how it is here at the moment. I mean, I was hearing weekly charges. Sorry, was it weekly charges for a residential care in the care home in Edinburgh as high as £1,300 a week. You know, that's just no feasible for the ordinary person. So a national care service to go along with the free care that we're giving out at the moment, it will make it cheaper.
Yeah.
The question they're going to ask themselves down that road, we've had free personal care for years, we've now extended it to everybody. It used to be only the old and infirm, but now everybody. Why don't they have it down that road?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, the answer to that is, well, they weren't paying attention in 2012 when the government passed a new health and social care bill, which means the government's no longer responsible for the health and well-being of the people of England. So there you go, people of England, you're being buggered there again. All right, so next one up, David.
Is free bus travel. Why did you give this one to me? Is it somebody doing my age? That's ageist, Mr. McGuinness. Over 1 million Scots now enjoy free bus travel across the country, including over 60s and disabled people. And we're now expanding it further to all young people under 22, which has been passed, I believe, right?
Yes, it was introduced in January. It's been slow at the uptake because, let's face it, the pandemic and things like that were still in full flight during the winter. But it is starting to gather momentum, especially with schools actually applying en masse for the school kids.
Yeah.
You know?
And an old git like me, if I fancy a day and go and fill in my boots with some beer up in Oban, I've got a bus that comes right by the house and it's free to take me all the way and bring me back.
Aye.
Providing they can get me on the bus.
Now, the number 10 in the top 10 list of achievements is the new Scottish Child Payment. Our new benefit for families, the only one of its kind in the UK, has been called a game changer by anti-poverty campaigners and will help lift around 30,000 children out of poverty. That was, of course, before Sunak took away the 20 quid uplift in the pandemic, which, and of course, the cost of living crisis is spiralling out of control. But at least our government is trying to lift children out of poverty. The Westminster government is driving people into poverty. Here in Scotland, 1 in 4 children go to bed hungry. Here in Scotland, it's 1 in 5 children that go to bed hungry. That's too high. But in England and Wales, it's 1 in 4. So Westminster is the driver of that poverty. So when we talk about social contract, and we'll move on to some of the other things within the social contract here that defines the difference between the Westminster government and the Scottish government. And it also defines why we are much more politically aware than what the people in England are, because we keep an eye on what our government's doing with our money. We can't control what Westminster does with the 40% of our money they keep. The 40%, direct taxation they keep. Well, they keep much more of our money than that. Oil, gas revenues, whiskey, alcohol duty, tobacco duty, import, export taxes. You could go on. But they're the top 10, right? And why the people in England don't demand the same thing is because they're not paying attention. They haven't got their eye on the ball. If the Scottish government tried to drop their commitment and their responsibility for health and social care here in Scotland the way they did in England, we would hunt them down and put them out of office and make sure whoever went into office reinstated their rights. But let's move on to other things in our social contract, which is much better. Water. Scotland still has its own publicly owned water system. We don't pay for water by the litre the way you people in England do, so it saves us about £45 a month. We only pay the standard infrastructure fee for the water to be pumped to our homes. We don't pay for it by the litre.
Can I put in there, David, that is, of course, just an average. I mean, I lived in quite a small house in England, 2-bedroom. And yes, it was round about the 45 per month, but I moved to like a big 4-bedroom house, and luckily I skipped the meters, but I found out what my neighbour was paying. It was way in excess of that. It's a massive amount of money. It really is that they pay. We get that for free. Well, it rains.
We've kept the water company. We've kept the water in public hands. The infrastructure up here is more modern. It doesn't look like a sieve. We don't have raw sewage getting pumped into our water systems. I mean, cholera's back down in London. Did you see that?
Yeah.
Because they're pumping shite into the water system.
Yeah.
And the privateers doing that road are taking profit out of the water system, whereas we reinvest everything back into our water system.
Yeah.
So we have better water.
Yeah.
Right. We also have a crime at a 45-year low, with 1,000 more cops now than what there was in 2007 when the SNP came to power. And the two of them correlate with each other. But in England, in Wales, they have lost 16,000 police officers. And all this crap about hiring back 20,000 police officers. If you add in the natural wastage of the time that people the Tories have been in power, they've allowed 20,000 officers to be let go in England. So crime is much higher in England.
Yeah.
So that's another part of the social contract that they get rang down that road. You know. And then, of course, we have a new social security system with care at its centre. It puts a big arm around the people who are doing their luck and gives them a cuddle. And they've invented some really good new benefits like the carers allowance and things like that. And we have put dignity into the social security system. So that's something else that you people doing that road in England need to have a look at. All right. We have also built 100,000 new affordable homes here in Scotland. Whereas in England, where there is a massive housing demand, the Westminster government's built none in 12 years. And 70% of those houses that were bought, affordable houses that were built, they're in the social rented sector.
Mm-hmm.
In other words, they're council houses.
Yeah, the last one of them I was looking at. The last one of them I was looking at was in Fort William, and it was a new set of flats that had just been built, actually right on the main high street through Fort William. Beautiful looking building, really, really nice. They'd really kept it in contact with Fort William, and lovely place. Imagine living in somewhere like that. That took a bit of thought to get that through and done and built. And it was built from the ground up. You know, it wasn't a converted building. You know.
Right. Also, in England, people pay bridge and road tolls. We don't have that here.
Right. And that really makes a difference. I mean, I live right at the opposite end of the Erskine Bridge. That was a pain. Aye. When we had that, just the queue to get through and pay your £1.20 or whatever it was at that time to get through the bridge. It was an absolute mess on it, really was. And well,
if you take the people of Fife travelling back and forward to Edinburgh, I can't give you the figures for the Erskine Bridge, but the people of Fife, it was £1.20 a pop to get out of the Fourth Road Bridge when it had the tolls, and it was £400 a year that people in Fife saved going back and forth.
Yeah. John's popped up again. Blame England.
We're not blaming anybody. We're asking why used BAM ports don't have the same social contract as we have.
There we go. There we are. Right, champion.
Blame England, blame the Tories. We're not blaming anybody. We're asking why we've got these things and you don't have, John. Wow. The reason why this show's called the better social contract that the people of Scotland have with the Scottish government than what the English government, the English people have with the English government, John. That's the title of this programme. We're not blaming anybody. We're asking you as BAM ports down that road why you don't have all these things that we've named. It's policy choice. And the fact that we're more politically aware and keep a grip on our MSPs and MPs up here. Whereas you don't pay any attention unless there's an election on. So they do what the bloody want, like undermining your human rights, your right to protest, charging you for water, charging you for medicines, charging you for bridge tolls, £7.50 to get in and out of Wales. Fuck. You guys are mental, John. We're not blaming anybody. We're actually pointing out that we've got a better social contract than you do. Oh, and apparently you beat Germany in the 1966 World Cup, did you? As if we give a fuck that you won a football game. But I'm not going to devote too much time to you today, John, because we're explaining to the people of England who want to pay attention why we've got a better social contract with our government than what you have with Westminster. And we don't get subsidised with you. We'll go on to the new tax system which has been created here in Scotland, which means that income tax, there are 5 bands and no 3. So we actually tax people more fairly. The least paid in Scotland pay less taxes now than what they did before we introduced the new tax system up here. And that new tax system with the 5 bands, John, is what gives us the extra money to do these things in the social contract. Okay, so as I say, I am not going to waste too much time on this today, John.
That's John had his 2 minutes and 25 seconds of fame. Take the screen off the screen, David, would you?
I'll need to find that contract to take it off the screen. There, it's a height. Right. Anyway, another one of the things that the Scottish Government have done which improved the social contract and the lives of the people here in Scotland was they scrapped parking charges at hospitals, NHS hospitals, saving the Scottish public travelling to visit people in hospital and, of course, NHS employees a whopping 42 million quid a year. Yeah. So, as I say, I'm not going to devote too much time to comments with people from England because what we're talking about here is the better social contract that we have with the Scottish Government than the poor quality social contract they have down there. All right. Another thing we've done is we've extended IVF to more families.
Right.
Scotland, as I say, is the best university support packages. It's paying 576 million to tackle the attainment gap. Our primary 3s and primary 4s get free school meals being extended to primary 5, saving families around £400 a year. But as we know, the English government in that road don't want to feed school children.
That really is ridiculous. That was the shittiest thing I've ever seen in my life. That they wouldn't get the kids that are right at the bottom end of the blooming pile, and they didn't have the money to get blooming school meals or get meals whilst the school was on holiday, and the Tory government just went no. And that's shitty. That's small-minded, and just shows you what Tories are.
I mean, let's talk about one of the other advantages of the contract we have with our government. Unlike the UK government, we've enshrined ambitious child poverty eradication targets into law and published their first delivery plan outlining concrete actions backed by 50 million tackling poverty fund. Whereas we know that the UK government has stopped producing poverty figures. It's now having to be done by private think tanks because the UK government just scrapped doing the figures. You know,
they don't want people to know. They don't want their own people to know, and that's the social contract that the good people of England have got with a fucking ridiculous government in Westminster.
As I say, but the problem is the people in England are not paying attention, and we've got people like John here still rattling on about 1966 and 2 world wars. Their eyes are on yesterday instead of on tomorrow. That's why the arse is out their trousers and why they're on their fucking knees. You know. So, as I say, we've got a progressive tax system. We are self-sufficient in energy, oil, gas and electricity. Yeah. We're self-sufficient in food, whereas that lot down that road need to import 60% of their food. They've got to import a whack of their electricity. They still use archaic and ancient technologies to generate electricity. It's a backwater. Yeah. You were sitting. Apparently, somebody was celebrating the Lionesses winning a game of football. Well done, the Lionesses. Wow. But that's what we're talking about. This guy's cuckoos, man.
Wonderful.
Yeah, guy's cuckoos. He lives in Yesterday-land. So, what other comments we got before we go back to highlighting the other differences in the social contract? Your tea breaks up, John. Well, thanks for your comments, mate. But get your eyes out the past and start looking forward. All right. So the social contract, David, is we've just been discussing, is much better. So let's get back to it and highlight the differences, will we?
Can I just say one thing? Can I just say one thing? We've got Parliament in Holyrood, right?
Yep.
And when you weigh that up against the Parliament in Westminster, generally the Parliament in Westminster are anti-people, and certainly anti-disabled or people that are on benefits or lowly paid, right? Whereas the Parliament in Holyrood tends to support people, help the ones that are doing well to do even better, but also really, really, really helps the people that are at the moment at the bottom of the pile. That won't always be the case. That won't always be the case. It's like if we get independence, things in this country will change for the better. It's not going to happen instantly. When we get independence, a couple of things you'll see a couple of things quickly change, but then it'll be a 2 to 3 year transition period before you actually see everything coming in. Basically, what it'll do is it'll allow us to bloom and change gear and put our foot in the accelerator and start to move forward faster.
Yeah, and the other thing is, the thing about highlighting the better social contract we have is that we're already starting with our new nation on a better foundation.
Yes.
Than what they've got down that road. And as you say, we have a Scottish government who tends to care.
Yeah.
It actually does its policies with people in mind. No business, no tax dodging, no crime. It's all above board. The other thing is, of course, it's more democratic. With it being a proportional system, you get better representation of the people in that parliament along that road. Which makes an even bigger mockery of the BAMs in Westminster trying to say that there is no democratic mandate for a referendum here. No, but as I say, we want to get back to highlighting the differences in the social contract. When it comes to crime and a safer Scotland, overall crime is down 45% since 2008-2009, and police recorded crimes is at one of its lowest since 1974. Despite a decade of Tory austerity, we've increased policing budgets from 2021 to 2022 by 75 million. That only just covers the VAT that Westminster's charging Police Scotland. Scotland has a higher number of police officers than at any time between 1999 and 2007, over 1,000 more than in March 2007. In England and Wales, police numbers have dropped by 16,000 or 11% in the same period. The Scottish Government has scrapped automatic early release for prisoners, meaning the most dangerous prisoners stay in prison. They've introduced world-leading Domestic Abuse Act. They created Fire and Rescue Scotland. So all these things are already in place for us moving forward.
Yeah.
But we've highlighted the main things in the social contract that's different, like free prescription charges, free education, feeding primary school children, the baby box, the uplift, the £20 uplift for families with kids, that sort of thing.
If we talk about as if we're building a house, when you build a house, the first thing that goes in is the foundations.
Yep.
And all the services that come into that to feed into the house. You can see when you look through this document, it's on the SNP website, right? Don't forget that's now if you like, a joint thing with the Greens, which is great, right? But we've now got the foundations in place to build a beautiful house if we want to. If we don't want to, we keep throwing our blooming votes in with that crowd down the road. And I'll tell you what, a few years, you won't recognise Scotland.
Well, David, the truth here is, in a few years, if we're still in the United Kingdom, all these things that we've just listed as being a better social contract will be gone because of the internal market bill.
Yeah.
They want to level up the education sector, so Scotland will be tuition fees imposed on it. They want to level up the health sector, so Scotland will have prescription charges reimposed on it. Well, they package it up and sell it half the way you have with English NHS. I mean,
maybe even health insurance. Maybe even health insurance, David.
Aye.
as time goes on, you can see what they're doing to the English NHS,
Yes.
which is ridiculous, right? And we know that Rishi Sunak's been across there. Right, guys, what's my best bid for the English NHS across in America? And that's why he's got his green card. He's setting himself up for the future.
Hey, I'll put this one up for you. Although we've already spoke about the new carers allowance, there you go. Us carers also get payments a year of approximately 260 from Scottish Government. English carers don't get this uplift. I'm so grateful for the 2 extra payments, and it makes a great difference. You're welcome, Alan. That's the whole point of SNP, Green Scottish Government, is to make people's lives better. And that's what we mean about the better social contract that we have with our government than what we have with the people in Westminster. What did Mary say that's well said? Mary, things we have to remember is we're doing this for, I'll put it up so everybody can read it. Right, things we have to remember is we are doing this for the kids, grandkids, and so on a lot of people, so a lot of people won't see the benefits of independence, but we need to do it for the younger generations. And that brings us back to what we were just talking about there, Mary, and the internal market bill, where we're going to have crap imposed on us for doing that road if we don't get ourselves away to them. But the point of this show is that hopefully any viewers in England who watch this will understand why we have a better social contract with the government, because we actually pay attention to what the government's doing. And the other thing we do is we've introduced progressive taxes so we can pay for them. They're not subsidised by England. You still keep most of our revenues doing that road.
Mm-hmm.
We're only talking about the direct taxation. We get 60% back. I've just went through some of the taxes we don't get back: alcohol duty, tobacco duty, fuel duty, fuel duty, electricity taxes, did I mention alcohol duty? Import, export taxes. All these taxes are still held on by Westminster. And what they do with the GERS figures is they try to distort it. But they can't hide the real figures because they're coming out in the Scottish Government of actually put in a new system where we actually get to hear for that. Yeah. Lorraine's got a comments or stick up for people who see it. As after all, it is about the viewers. Don't hear any other Indian nations want to return to the corrupt British Tory dictatorship. You would have to be mad to vote for Tories and Labour, British corruption and destruction. Absolutely true. But I mean, that's because the people doing that road are not that politically aware. And Margaret says if she had to for a prescription, she didn't know how long she'd survive because she couldn't afford it. Yeah. So,
I mean, if you figure at the time that my illness was on the up, I must have been on like 6 or 7 prescriptions a week. Each individual items. That'd been like £9 odds for each item.
That'd be 60 quid a week. For the 6 items. Yeah. I mean, if you're on benefits, that's not sustainable.
Yeah.
It's just not sustainable. It's absolutely no. As I say, the people doing that road haven't been paying attention, David. And I know sometimes in the Indie Talk Davies things have a bit of rant about these things. And it can sound as if I'm being a bit obnoxious towards the people down south. But when you're living up here and you've got all these different social contracts, you've got a great social contract with your government, that's well part of the union.
Yeah.
But we know that social contract's about to be undermined by the internal market bill. We know that the Tories want to package up and sell the NHS right across these islands. We know that they want to introduce university tuition fees in Scotland. In fact, it's been bummed about in the Scottish press recently, where the unionist think tank say that we should introduce them because it's actually holding Scots kids back getting free education. You never had so much fish in your life. In fact, I did the stats on it, didn't I? Because they were claiming that Scottish universities were having to take in so many foreign students to make up the loss they're losing for being charging people here for tuition. That's not true. People come to Scotland for degrees because it's a better degree than what you get in England. That's another thing about social contract. Yeah. We do a 4-year degree up here. It's harder to get a degree. So when you go into the world with a Scottish degree for our world-class universities, you know that they're going to sit up and pay attention. You've got a better chance of getting into an M.Tech school with a Scottish degree than what you have with an English degree. You know. But as I say, they were trying, this think tank, Reform Scotland, was a Tory think tank and a unionist think tank. It was on about how tuition fees should be, because there's more foreign students and taking places in the university sector. Well, as you know, Davey, I like to do a quick wee bit of research. So there's, when that list we were reading was put out in 2021, right? There was 260,000 university places available in Scotland. 2022 to 2023, that's up to 282,875. Now, there are 50,000 foreign students who can afford to come to Scotland to get the better degree that they get here in Scotland than what they get anywhere else.
Mhm.
You know?
Yeah.
So, that for the think tank stupid. And the other thing is, there's 49,000 more people with deprived backgrounds going to universities here in Scotland in 2022, 2023, and what there is going in 2021, 2021, sorry. 21, 22, I'd say 22, 23 as well.
If we've got people in England watching this, there's one, you've talked about it a few times, David, and I've actually I've read it. I read it through as part of Leslie's first degree. I read it. It's the Black Report, 1980, and it talks about health inequalities. Now, Scotland was always declared the sick man of Europe. That's a situation that's changing. I'll tell you who's overtaken us. People in England. Yeah.
The 20 poorest places in the UK used to all be in Scotland. They're now all in the north of England. In fact, they're the 20 poorest places in Europe, actually.
Yeah. So reading that Black Report, brackets, 1980, close brackets, that would help you understand how your social standing, your wages, the situation you're in, your environment, all conspire to create health inequalities, make you sicker, make you more prone to diseases that the poor in society tend to be fraught with, you know. So it's
things like poor nutrition and things like that because they can't afford to eat well, you know. But that also leads to higher drugs and alcohol deaths, which we're now seeing spiraling out of control in the northern towns in England.
And we saw Sky last night doing a big programme on drug deaths. Scotland wasn't mentioned once.
No, obviously, David, I wouldn't have seen that. I don't watch television, as you know. You know, so I wouldn't have seen the documentary. I've heard about it though. That's how, and I've read about the spiraling drug deaths in the northern cities because the cringes come out of the people now.
Yeah.
Here we go.
I'm just reading down some of the comments.
I'll put this one up. 2020-21 financial year, Scotland raised 52.8 billion, but only received back 35.1 billion, which means 27.7 billion was kept by Westminster, and that's before we talk about those other revenues, right? And another comment going up: my council tax bill with water rates, for a one-bed house in Scotland in 2022 is more or less the same as council tax without water rates for a bed sit in England back in 2012.
Yeah, wow.
That's amazing. I'm assuming this fella must have moved up here.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Stephen, where did you move from? Can you put that up for us? Stephen Charlton, whereabouts were you in England?
For the bed sit to be that charged in 2012. So as I say, the social contract we have here is far superior to anything they've got down that road, and that's because they aren't paying attention. We're not having a go at the people of England. We're pointing out their failings to pay attention to what's going on. I mean, at this point in time down there, they're almost banned everything. Civil liberties are out the fucking window. One of the things about Britishness was you were never fearless. You could have freedom of speech, no anymore.
Here's the important point I'd like to make. We want the people of England to start looking at this
And start looking at yourselves.
and get the social contract with Westminster that they should have by demanding it, right?
Yes.
Because when we become an independent country, we don't want a basket case next door. And that's what you're leading towards.
Stephen, you were in Ramsgate before moving back to Scotland. Thank you very much for that. Right, I'm going to stick this comment up. And always I say, because this is about interacting with the audience as well. Tories don't want our children educated. They need slaves to fund their thieving pockets. Shocking that many working class give their votes to humanity and economic abusers. England, time to evolve. Can't argue much with that comment, Lorraine. We really can't. As I say, the whole point of this programme is, this isn't bashing the English people. It's making them aware of the fact that there are other options out there.
Yeah.
You can make the politicians work in your interests, the way we do here in Scotland. The whole reason for independence and bringing all the powers home is because I can reach Edinburgh from here in 25 minutes. If I need to put my boot up somebody's bahookie and say, hey, that's out of order, I can do it.
Yeah.
And
if you're worried about the money tree that the Tory politicians keep talking about, that they say doesn't exist, well, I'll tell you, the amount of money they've given free to the banks would give each of you a lottery win for the rest of your lives.
And the Bank of England did it again today.
Yeah.
That interest rate's up to 1.75%. That doesn't sound that much, and it isn't that much in the grand scheme of things unless you're on the edge. Because that might be the Bank of England base rate. That's not what you're paying your mortgage.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Every time they hike these rates, your mortgage goes up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's generally a few percent above base anyway.
Right, let's see this statement. Yeah, English media always criticise the Scottish Government on spending, but never mention that the budget is fixed to whatever Westminster says we are allowed for pocket money. Yeah. Well, there you go. So, as I say, the whole point of this programme is no bashing the people of England. It's to try and make them aware that they're being mugged. They're being taken for idiots. Privatised water companies pumping shit into the water system is going to make them ill.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
You know, we've heard about cholera outbreaks in London because of shit in the water.
Yeah.
You know, mental.
Here's one thing I remember, right? I lived in England prior to the water being sold off, right?
Oh, there's another thing about our social contract. This is important, David. Hold on. Jack, thanks very much, because we haven't mentioned it so far. That is not to mention the mitigation of Tory policies like the bedroom tax.
Yes.
You know, we don't have the bedroom tax here. You know?
Sorry, I was going to say, prior to the water being sold off in England, we never had a hosepipe ban. We had loads of hot summers. Don't worry about that. We had droughts and all of it, but they didn't actually have a hosepipe ban. The time that the hosepipe bans came in regular was after the water was privatised. Now, if you are a water company, the best thing you can possibly do is stop people using your main product. And that's what they did. So, sorry, carry on.
Mary's Hamilton saying that she's on benefits and living in a 2-bedroom house. Our council tax this year is 50 odd quid, whereas in the past it was free. And apparently the reason for it is because she had 2 disabled kids in the house. I would go along and speak to your council about that, Mary.
Yeah, I would too.
I would go and speak to your council.
There's something wrong there, Mark. There really is.
So, Mary, go and speak to your council about that. It doesn't sound right. I would go and speak to a local councillor, or even go and speak to your MSP.
Better still, speak to an MSP.
Speak to your MSP.
Yeah.
That's one of the great things about the Scottish Parliament is we've all got access to our MSPs.
Yeah.
You know, mine's is even a pal. As far as it goes, You know, he's a likeable guy. Had a pint with him. You know, right? Before it was 50 quid, you thought it was brilliant. I would imagine if you've only pint it before you go to 50 quid, and if you're on benefits with 2 kids, 50 quid's a lot of money.
Of course, I
You know?
Yeah.
So we understand that. Right, David, we're on our 45. I hope
think
that people who are watching this, especially those in England who really want to understand the difference between the social contract that the Scottish people have with the Scottish government and the crap contract that you have with the Westminster government, then I hope this show inspires you to go get off your bahookies and fix it down that road. And remember, folks, smash the like button on YouTube. And please share the content of this video around. And if you're on YouTube, subscribe to the channel if you want to be given notifications when David and I are going live. And we're doing a lot of I-talk stuff to do because there is a lot to talk about. But probably the next one we're going to go into is the Constitutional Reform Group down that road and their plan for a federal UK and a new Act of Union, which isn't going anywhere. And we'll explain why it's not going anywhere. Okay.
One final wee word about Facebook. Facebook's becoming like trench warfare. That was me banned from sharing for another 10 hours today, right? If you can, please share. I mean, I'm usually the one that goes around sharing to all the various groups that Davey and I are on, but it's just impossible. Trying to advertise this show today, I had to get other people to try and share for me. So if you do see me putting something on my timeline or even on YouTube, share it, please. Don't ask for money.
David, I have to mention this one before we finish, right? I have to mention this one before we finish. You got in just in time with this one. 10 years ago, Stephen lived in Manchester, and his water bill was
£1,300.
Is it 1,300?
Yeah.
I couldn't see. 1,307 quid a year.
Yep,
wow.
That's right.
Well, thanks for that, Stephen. Right, guys, as I say, we're going to round this up. On you go, David.
Yeah, it's a major cost if you live in England. I do appreciate that because I've experienced it. But the Facebook thing is really becoming quite hard now. And David went on this morning, did his Indie Truck Davy thing, and people couldn't comment. I mean, I tried putting up a comment. I just tried to put up "Hi Davy" and it wouldn't come out, right? So Facebook are definitely interfering with our broadcasts on Facebook. So be aware of that and consider that we've built you a new home that you can come to hear what we've got to say, and that's on YouTube. And I really, really hope that you start to push the idea of watching us on YouTube rather than anywhere else. And the way you can do that is by, instead of sharing from Facebook, share from YouTube and share into Facebook from YouTube. Okay, sorry, David, carry on.
Aye, right. As I say, we are streaming across both platforms anyway, and we're going to continue to for the time being. The other thing is, as I say, it's time to round it up. David and I will be doing a lot more impromptu shows. We'll try and get notification out to you all. But if you hit the subscribe button on the YouTube page, you'll get notification when we go live. Okay. Right, that's it for today's show, David. So say bye, David.
Bye, David.
Bye, David.
Bye, Davey.
Bye, Dara.
It's bye to him and bye to me.